Hello. I was about to say welcome to Gothtober Sprints, but no. Welcome to these writing / reading / productivity / whatever you want to call it sprints. I'm Olivia Savannah from Olivia's Catastrophe from my channel, and I'm here with hopefully 3 guests at some point, but for now, we just have the glorious Lizzie.
Hello. Hi. I am now a regular. Olivia can't get rid of me.
Just keep bringing me back. It's great.
Yeah. I'm Lizzie from Lizzie as Elf, and I'm here to try and start a novel and finish it this year because I've only won Nano twice, and I've done it since 2011, so it's kind of embarrassing.
When you said I've only won it twice, I was like, Lizzie, don't talk yourself down. Twice is still a lot.
So I'm here to do it this year.
Nice. Do you want to talk a bit about what your writing project is, or is it a top secret project? You can also be like, this is a secret project and you're getting nothing.
No, it's not a secret. I either write fan fiction or I write this really epic fantasy. And I've decided this year I'm going back to my roots and I'm going to write a Merlin and Arthur fanfic called Merthyr, the True Story. And it's basically going to be when Arthur wakes up in the modern world and Merlin is going to be really grumpy. Like, you kept me waiting for like 1,000 years. Like, that's not what friends do.
And like Christina Perry song.
I might do. I might have to listen to that to get the chapter titles. But basically being like teaching Arthur how to be a modern man. So he's going to be kind of rude and like misogynistic until Merlin's like, absolutely not. So yeah, that's my Nano project.
I love it. I love the sound of this. I'm a big Merlin stan, so
I love it so much. It was like I've been really getting back into my Merlin phase. I'm like, I'm gonna rewatch it all because it's all on Netflix. And yeah, it's just very true to my heart. So I just love it so much.
Yes. And just don't watch the last 1-2 episodes. Just the ending is your fanfic ending that you are going to write.
Exactly. I'm gonna keep on continuing on.
I am going to be working on my sci-fi horror Afrofuturist retelling of Frankenstein that I have
Sounds so cool.
I've been saying that I'm going to keep working on it for ages, but it's actually happening now. We're going to hammer out a first draft. There will be no rewriting the first 10,000 words multiple times. It ends now.
That sounds amazing, though. I'm so here for that.
I'm very excited about it. It's basically born of my love of horror films. I just thought, what if I could take a bunch of horror tropes, including the final girl trope, and just absolutely reverse them? And my first thought was, it's not going to be a blonde, white final girl. It's going to be a black girl. And then it kind of branched out from there. So that's not even spoiling the ending because it's not really doing the final girl trope. And yeah, that's where it's going.
I really want to read that. Like, that sounds so cool. Like, if anyone knows any like books that are like that out already, like with any of those, like if it's a Frankenstein retelling, I'm here for it. Like sci-fi books, like send some recommendations my way because I love the sound of that.
Lizzie needs those recommendations in the chat. But we will be starting with writing soon because I'm so determined to get right in there to get the creative juices flowing. But nice to see some NaNoWriMo returners. I used to call it NaNoWriMo. Not anymore. I know what it stands for.
I still call it NaNoWriMo because it just falls out of my mouth that way. I know it's not. Like, I know that that's wrong, but because I've said that ever since I started it, I'm like, I just can't get myself out of it. I'm like, I know it's NaNoWriMo, but I'm like, NaNoWriMo,
it just comes out. Nice to see everybody's doing some things. Are you a planner or a pantser?
I'm a pantser, like through and through. If I try and plan something, I'll get like a couple of chapters into my plan, and then my characters will just decide to do something that wasn't in the plan, and then it would just throw everything off. So no, I'm a pantser.
I am a planner. Wait for it. Exhibit A. This document, 5,000 words of planning with highlights and character profiles and everything.
I wish I could. And like I've done it so like, and I did it when I was at uni as well, and I did my creative writing course. I couldn't plan anything, which was not necessarily the best way of doing it. Because if I did plan like I can plan a short story, and I can plan slam poetry, because I used to do loads of slam poetry, and I could do all of the planning for that. But for a longer form novel, couldn't get it. Couldn't do it.
It can be difficult. And I like some people, because usually I do about 1,000 words in half an hour. And some people are like, how are you managing that? And it's just because it's all planned out. It's just because the plan is that deep.
I wish. That would be amazing.
But watch me write really slowly now, because I'm very, very rusty. Yes, just dive in. Just do it.
You can do it.
Yeah, there's no romance in my book because I do not have a romantic bone in my body. That's why I read romance, because I can't write it.
I'm sorry, there is romance in mine because Merlin and Arthur are not straight boys.
Yes. Yes.
There's no way. And especially because I watched a TikTok earlier this month. Not earlier this month, it's only just this month. Earlier in October. Had to be in October. We're in November now. Where it was some behind the scenes stuff, and it was one of the directors or producers, it was like voiceovering, and he was saying that like the BBC in those days wouldn't have let it happen, but like 100% Merlin and Arthur like were shipped all around the cast, all of the producers, all the directors, and I was like, okay, so I'm making this canon.
Yeah, I feel like they definitely like lightly sprinkled it into the script in a way that the straights wouldn't notice, but everybody else literally did.
Yeah. So it's only a little bit of romance, but it's in there.
We need some of it.
Fairy tamer.
But yes, shall we start with a warm-up writing sprint to flex our fingers of like 25 minutes?
Yep.
Before we start though, yes, exactly what I was thinking about. The scene in Merlin where they're like, we were writing poetry.
There are so many great bits in Merlin where, like, you know, when Arthur goes off and like saves his life, he goes on this epic quest, find a little bit of a flower because Merlin poisons himself for Arthur. It's just like they're in love. They're in love.
They're in love and we know it. All the representation. Okay, I got distracted by Merlin, but okay, 25 minutes, starting writing. Let's do it. Hello.
Hey, hey, hey.
And hello to the people who just joined. How are you both doing?
I'm good, thank you.
You're still on mute, Zoe.
There we go. Sorry I'm late. Everyone decided to show up all at once.
That's okay.
Outrageous.
We were just doing like a warm-up writing sprint. But before you guys came, we talked a bit about what we're working on, how long we've been working on it for. If you want to introduce yourselves and talk about that.
Yeah.
Want to go first, Hannah?
Cool. So I'm Hannah from Ladder M. I am currently working on a supernatural thriller mystery that mixes werewolves and murder. I've been working on it for about 4 years, which is terrifying. But it is kind of in its last stages, and I've kind of set myself the task for NaNoWriMo to kind of put it through its final edit before it gets proofed, because the plan is to self-publish it next year.
Nice.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. I'm Zoe from Zoe's All Booked, which has not seen activity in I don't even know how many months at this point. I'm working on a brand new project. I'm trying to do NaNoWriMo the proper way for the first time. My last one took 5 years to write, so I feel you. I just started writing for the first time this morning, or at midnight, actually. It's an adult fantasy, enemies to lovers, set, or no, that's the wrong project. It's kind of like a reverse Portal fantasy almost. So like the characters are in their own world, and then somebody from another world shows up and is like, hey, my world is dying, and the magic that you humans are using are killing us, so please stop. And everyone's like, no, I don't. No.
That sounds real. Are you sure this is a fantasy you're writing? That
Yeah.
sounds like it absolutely could happen.
Yeah, it's absolutely a look at our own world and how often we see all of like the shitty things happening, and everyone's like, oh, I'm part of the cause, I'm gonna help until it's not convenient anymore, and then they go back. So it's like it's a bit of a commentary on how shit most people can be.
Love that.
Yeah.
Sounds very accurate. Everybody's very excited about both of these projects. And how did this writing sprint, or however you're using it, sprint, go?
Let's see. I was quite proud of myself, actually. I think I hit just under 500 words. 587, so just over.
Nice.
How did it go for you, Lizzie?
I wrote 855 words, but it's kind of like a word vomit of Merlin pining, and I just ran with it, you know. And he's just spotted a figure on the beach, and I'm setting it all up. But sorry, guys, it's not Arthur yet. I felt like it was too early, and like in the first chapter to have Arthur rock up.
I love that though.
I'm gonna go through. I've got Percival, because you know Percival was like my favorite knight because he was so stupid and he was just a big like grumpy bear type, you know, and I love him. So I thought Percival should be the first one to make his way into the modern world.
So just to be clear, because obviously I wasn't here when you described what you were writing, can you just clarify for me what you're writing?
So it's Merlin and Arthur. So it's called Merthyr, the true story, and it's set after the show, with Merlin having to fake his death multiple times because he can't just be old all the time. So he's back looking like he did when he was in the show for like the 16,000 times, and he's just basically got his grandfather's inheritance again. Like that's how his like thing. It's going to be the reuniting of him and Arthur, and he's got to teach Arthur how to be a modern man and not to be a misogynist, and like learning about all the old stuff that he will definitely have to deal with, because medieval England was not a fun place for anyone if you weren't a white man, you know. So we're gonna go through the motions, and then they're gonna be in love.
I love that.
Fantastic.
I love that because I especially love the fact that I think it was less than a week ago we were talking about these sprints, and Lizzie was like, "Oh yeah, I've been invited on the sprints, but I don't know what I'm going to write. Like, I'm not a writer. I don't know what I'm going to write." And I was like, "Just write a Merlin fanfic," and she was just like, "So the fact that you're doing that makes me so happy."
Well,
I mean, you can never go wrong with
Right.
Merlin fanfic.
Well, I've not written a Merlin fanfic. I've written other fanfic, but I was like, ever since you suggested it, I haven't been able to get out of my head. So it's got to happen.
Love that. Love that.
Did you manage to write, Zoe, or were you like just hopping on?
I got in, there was like 4 minutes left, so I set everything up. I'm prepared now to get into the next one. And I'm ready.
Nice. I wrote 870 words. I probably deleted about like 6 times that I wrote little as a crutch word. I keep just being like, she made a little, like, she whispered a little, or like, I don't know. I just keep using the word little, and I've already noticed, but I'm also trying to not edit while I write for once. So
Yeah, you want to just put all the littles in now, make yourself
Yeah.
feel better, and then at the end do find little and then just remove. Like, it's
just
fine.
delete.
Exactly. That's like, for me, it's the word just. Every
I'm a just,
sentence
yeah.
has the word just in it. And I'm like, can you please shut the hell up and stop saying this damn word? But I can't. It's impossible. So I feel you. I absolutely feel you.
Mhm.
But it looks like it went well for other people. Nice that you're working on your Gothtober video. I feel like I've still got one more vlog to come. It's coming.
Yeah, I've got my Dark Academia one, which is going to be really interesting because I started with 3 books I was reading for that. I have since read 4 books, only one of which was actually on that original TBR because the other 2 I just haven't been able to get through. So I'm like, do I just wrap it up as is or do I try? Who knows? Who knows?
If it's Babel, I vote wrapping it up because that is a long try.
Well, it was Babel and it was The Secret History. Because I was like, I don't want to buy it. I don't want to spend money on it. I just kind of want, it was on Scribd. So I was like, I want to read it via Scribd because I'm not paying for it then. Like I've already paid for Scribd. So I'm just going to listen to it, hear the anti-Semitism and just kind of like, just, do you know what I mean? And then I don't have to spend money on it. And then Scribd took it off and I was like, oh, that's such a shame. Wow. So now I'm not doing that one. So yeah, the other one that I've got left is Babel. And I'm only like 3 chapters in, so I'm like, I'm not finishing that in a week.
Let it go.
Let it go.
I absolutely am. Yes. Very much so.
Oh, thank you. I wonder, Lizzie, is yours going to be available to read first? Are you posting as you write, or do you write it all and then?
If it sees the light of day,
I was
you'll be
gonna
very
say.
lucky. I have like a bunch of like started manuscripts. Like I have to actually finish this. If I finish NaNoWriMo, maybe that'll be where I put it. Like I might put it on AO3, go like reactivate my account on there and just like randomly post this Merlin on Arthur fanfic and with my Twilight fanfic and my One Direction fanfic, you know? Like just to really like spice it up.
The people deserve it, honestly.
Yeah.
That's my
It's
vote.
called self-care.
I don't think it'll be any good. I am literally just word vomiting though. So like
I find that with fanfic, it's all about the intent rather than the actual writing ability though. So it's fine.
the thing is, if I put it on AO3, I'm gonna have to make it spicy, and I'm not sure if I want to write smut at my age.
You don't have
Like,
to make it
At
spicy.
my age.
well, I feel weird reading smut that I wrote when I was like a 15-year-old versus now. Like, I don't want to read my smut when I was 15 and realize I haven't got better at writing smut. Like that just makes me feel awful, right? Like that's not. I don't know if I want to do that to myself.
That's wild. So don't read the other stuff. Just go in fresh faced and just. Oh
You
my
did
God.
say, I don't want to go back and read my 15-year-old smart and be like, I haven't got better at writing it. And I thought you were going to say something else.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I've never had any complaints, Livia, but like, who knows?
Oh, good for you, Lizzie. Good for you.
Right, let's swiftly move on to something else now.
No, I want to see how pink we can get you. That was amazing. Oh yeah, so I saw that there's like a book box set of this number one. Has anyone here read this? So it was one of the things that my parents listened to in the car when we would like go on like holidays and stuff. We would like drive across France. We'd listen to like Paul Temple, this, and like Terry Pratchett kind of on a loop. And I loved these stories because they are basically, it's a detective agency set in Africa. So it's a bunch of African women solving crimes. And like, even as a kid, I was like, that's awesome. Until I realized it's written by a white man who went there like one time. And I'm like, it's going to be so problematic. And I want to reread it because like part of me, it's the nostalgia, but I also don't want to read it because I know it's going to be awful. So Tamar is taking that bullet for me. He's going to read it before I have to. So yeah, I was really close. The box set for like 12 books was something like $12.99. And I was like, that is a bargain, but only so long as it's not super problematic. So, yeah, I'm really nervous about it.
Going back to old favorites can be hit or miss.
I tell you what is so bizarre is like, so I made a video in 2021 of kids' books I wanted to reread. So books from my childhood I wanted to reread. There has not been a single book in that list that hasn't been fatphobic. And I was like, did I just not notice this as a kid? But I was like, why is this such a thing? I was like, I just didn't get it.
But there is a lot of fat phobia, especially like in early 2000s works and like 90s books. And those are the books I grew up with. So it always does throw me through a loop. But I'm like, no, I'm just an adult now and realize that fat phobia is a thing.
It was so normal. Like everything that people would say, it's like nobody would talk about it. But yeah, like I wanted to go back and reread the Click series by Lisa Harrison. And that one, it's like, Jesus Christ, I was 12 years old. Why did my mother let me read this shit? Like, these girls are so messed up. This is not right. Like, the nostalgia level is there, yeah, but recommending it to somebody now, it's like, go in knowing that you're going to read some real messed up shit.
Yeah.
You got 12-year-olds going to school in Kate Spade pumps thinking it's normal. Like,
yeah.
I don't understand. Is it an American thing?
It must be because I tried to reread the It Girl series because I was like 16 books into that series as a kid, and I couldn't even get past the first 2 chapters of it.
It's so bad, but I love it.
As a kid, I was like, oh my god, she's like me because she's like curvy and stuff, and I'm like, it exclusively talks about how she's like one size bigger than everyone around her because she's got boobs, and like everyone calls her fat because she's got boobs. And I'm just like, she's a kid. Like, this is insanity. Yeah. No.
So we shall endeavor to write better books than those ones.
Yeah. That's my life goal. My life goal is to write books that I wish I had read. Not this one, though. This one is very, very dark. This is not a book I would recommend to childhood Hannah. But like the last one, Bridesmaid Survival Guide, absolutely top tier for kids.
So I've been thinking in this last conversation, do I have Merlin have like a non-binary type thing where sometimes he presents as a woman because, you know, he wants to change it up and be like, well, you know, I'm magic, so I can just choose.
Why not?
Because that could be fun.
Why not? Yeah. Why not take a crazy chance? Why not do a crazy dance?
Love that.
I've been watching the Liz McGuire movie on repeat again because my children love it. So.
Lucy and I have been watching the TV series Nikita, and there's a bit in it where they're at a house party and they've got Hannah Montana's The Best of Both Worlds playing in the background of this house party. And this is a spy show. This is a spy show done by Warner Brothers in 2010, and they've got Hannah Montana playing in the background, and it was just wonderful. It was wonderful.
She is
the audience.
She's the ultimate example of disguise.
Right? I was like, if anything, it's layered because they are also pretending to be something they're not, you know?
Exactly.
Genius.
It was very funny when you realized it was Best of Both Worlds, though, Hannah. You were like, wait, is that Best of? And I was like, yeah, it's been playing for like a little while now. And I kind of feel like this feels wrong. And I was like, these are grown adults dancing like they're at a rave to the best of both worlds. And I'm like, okay.
Why not?
Yeah, 30-year-olds pretending they're in their teens, dancing to Hannah Montana. Wild.
You love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so it took me a second to read that because I was like, does Olivia need to tell it? No, we will. So we're bringing back a book club that Lizzie and I used to do, but we're involving Celine, Hannah Ryan, and Abby, and we're giving it a new name next year that we're still working on. But the whole point of is you get a prompt rather than a specific book to read. So to find what prompts we all like, we're trying loads of different books to kind of see what it like overlaps, see if there's any like prompts that come up a lot. And these few months leading up to January, we have been recommending books to each other. So picking our favorite books that someone else already has in their TBR to read. And Abby chose, I can't even remember what it was called. It was like something Fear or the like Mr. Fear or something like that.
Master of Fear?
Master of Fear.
Oh,
something like
Messenger of Fear? Is this
Messenger
Michael
of Fear.
Grant?
Thank you.
Michael Grant.
And Abby hasn't read it for about 5 years. I think the last time she read it was in 2016. And Hannah has had it on her shelf probably just as long and had never read it. And Abby went in and was like, right, check out the trigger warnings because it is a dark fantasy. It's wild. And then we met up on Sunday and Abby wasn't feeling very well, so she wasn't there. We were all just kind of sat around like chatting about our books, and it got round to Hannah's turn and Hannah was like, yeah, so there's ableism. They use all kinds of slurs. They drop the F-bomb at one point, like the F slur. There's like this happening. There's like an animal death. There's like this, and this that we had all just totally forgotten existed in this book. And I was just like, I didn't realize, like, it wasn't just problematic, like, it was dangerous, like, the kind of language that Hannah was telling us about. And I just text Abby being like, hey, not to, like, talk about you behind your back, but also, we've been talking about you behind your back, and this is a wild recommendation. Like, are you okay? And Abby was like, oh, I just won't recommend it until I've reread it now, because didn't remember that any of that stuff had happened. Knew that it was dark, knew that there would be, like, death and gore and violence, did not remember the language used. That, like, when Hannah was telling us, we were all just sat there like, oh god, like, this is awful. And this is for kids? Like, it was insane.
Is he the guy that wrote the Gone series?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I know. I see the comment now. I never finished that series. I think I have, where the hell is it? The first 3 books. And I was thinking about finishing it. And I have this thing where I need to reread every book, and then, like, I can get to the ones that I haven't done because my memory is garbage and I need to refresh myself. But I had the same thing. I was sitting there thinking, like, I can't do this. Like, I want to, but first of all, I don't know if I'm emotionally stable enough to read anything like that, because I have a whole thing where if anything happens to parents in books, now that I have little kids, like, it makes me so anxious. So I'm like, they're all gone and nobody knows where the hell they are. I can't do that on that principle alone. But then I'm remembering, like, these kids start actually, like, killing each other, and there's all of the things, especially in the second book. I remember it got so messed up. Like, what the hell? I think I was like 11 when I read these. Like,
it's one of my favorite series, or I like to say favorite childhood series, because I did go through a phase where I was recommending it to everyone, then they read it, and there's a lot of ableism in it.
Like, thinking back now, like, it kind of, when we were kids, but now it's like, but what in the hell?
So much of it was just part of our standard vernacular. Like, it wasn't necessarily like, oh, you can't call someone that. It was just kind of, you would do it as a joke, not even just necessarily as an insult. And it just becomes, you don't notice. And it's really scary, the amount of stuff, like, when I've gone to reread stuff that I've been like, oh, I just fully accepted that. Did I? Like, that was fine. That was normal. Okay. And I keep roasting my mum, because the book that she recommended to me when I was 14 was Flowers in the Attic, which, again, anyone here read that?
I know what it is.
Yeah.
Haven't watched it, haven't seen it. or
So-
haven't read it.
It's a childhood neglect story about a mum who leaves her kids basically in an attic. The trigger warnings, the list is so long that I don't recommend it. Like I've just included it in my wrap up because I recently reread it. And I'm not like, it's a great book, go out and read it, because it's beautifully written. It's so sad. But I can't talk about it without being like, by the way, there's physical abuse, there's emotional abuse, there's sexual assault, there's like this, that, the other, there's incest, there's this, there's like, and it's the list is so long. And I'm like, my mum gave that to me when I was 14.
Fun
What?
fact about that story that I wish I didn't know, but everybody's gonna know now because it doesn't actually mean anything to anyone else here. The town that I'm from, that I live in, Tecumseh, Ontario, we had a real life Flowers in the Attic scenario here in the 60s. I didn't know about this. And we were driving by one day and my husband was like, hey, you see that house there? I'm like, yeah, regular house. He goes, look it up. So it was like, actually, I found the article here. 3 kids, 11 years they were up there in the 60s.
That's nuts. That's nuts.
Yeah, the 15-year-old. So he was 15 when he left the house. So he was there for 11 years. He was a small child, like literally 2 streets away from me. And I'm like, I knew this town was fucked up. It's all white people. I can't, like, it's at the last census done, out of 24,000 people, 22,900 and something were white. So I'm like, that's historically there's something wrong with this town, right? But yeah, all of them, a 16-year-old, a 15-year-old, and a 13-year-old. So they were there like their entire lives, severely stunted in growth. Apparently they were clean and educated, and they were given toys and books and TV, but just not allowed to leave the fucking attic, like 2 streets away. And I'm like, we gotta go. It looks like this totally normal, unassuming house. Like, what the hell? So when I found out about Flowers in the Attic, I was like, yeah, that's about here. And they're like, no, that's not even. Okay, no, I swear to God, when the movie Get Out came out, my mom was like, hey, watch this trailer with me. And I'm like, okay. Had no idea what it was about. And I'm like, did you think at all before showing me this? And she's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, me and my 2 cousins that live down the street are the only Black people that live on this street. We are in a real life Get Out situation. And she goes, oh yeah, it's kind of weird. So I went and saw it with her because I have self-destructive tendencies, apparently. I was the only Black person in the whole theater. And I was like, I am afraid for my safety in here. And I'm like, I'm not going to sleep for at least 3 weeks. I still have nightmares about it. And it was, I don't even know how long ago. But that's the kind of town. And that apparently I'm in with Flowers in the Attic scenarios.
You know what? Your idea for your book now makes... So, I mean, it made sense before, but like I feel like now I'm like, yeah, the pieces, they're lining up. They're making sense.
Yeah, I've got a lot of thoughts.
Yeah,
about,
a lot of
this area.
experience. It's going to feel a very authentic book. I can already tell.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's wild over here. My God. Nice Canadian small town. But like, those are the ones you got to watch out for.
It's always the quiet ones.
My God.
The quiet ones.
So on that very positive note, stop.
Don't lock up your kids, guys. Okay.
I endeavour that we all write happy scenes.
Yes.
Oh, the next thing that I've got to write is not happy at all. It is the being dragged, kicking and screaming in by the police scene. So it is not. It is not.
Oh, I've got a similar one, like similar feel coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Chosen one finds out that her whole entire life was a lie, and she's actually not the chosen one. The guy that she actively wants to murder is gonna be the chosen one instead, and she gets a little stabby at that point.
Love that. A little bit stabby.
Just a little. Lizzie, is there hope for any happiness?
Are you going to write a happy scene?
Yeah.
Just do it.
Well, Percival and Merlin are going to meet up again. So yeah.
Love that. To be fair, I did see a tweet that I have bookmarked to say for later, where it was like, you keep telling me you love your characters, prove it. Share a scene where they're happy. And I was like, haven't written one yet. Saving that for later. Coming back to that.
Happy? I don't know her.
We've never met. Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna write until 15:15, so 45 minutes sprint,
Perfect. Cool.
and
In a
we
bit.
shall all write happy things.
Aye, aye, Captain.
Okay, let's start. Let's start. That's the end of our second writing sprint.
I was sat there for like a full minute being like, it's 15. What's happening?
It's time for my break.
That's fair.
I got a mouthful of cat hair now because my cat decided to just put his ass right in my face.
I love that for you.
Why not? Love you too.
How did it go for everyone?
Pretty good.
Go on.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying pretty good. My in-laws dropped off my kids halfway through and didn't text me telling me that they were coming. So I just heard the garage door open and I peed myself a little bit. I got so scared because I'm like, who's in my house? But
especially after we freaked ourselves out beforehand.
Exactly. I don't know how to do math, but that looks like 900 something. Maybe. Nice. Yeah, I think I hit around like 900 words.
Nice. How about for you two? How did it go, Lizzie?
Good. I'm going back into like a flashback scene now, so I've just started that. I wrote 1,485 words. It's all crap though. Like I can assure you, this is not good. But I also don't care because fuck it. I'm just having a good time. I'm having so much fun. But Merlin's really going through it right now. He's just crying in the rain. Like, if that's not an image that breaks your heart, I don't know what is. And he's about to fuck up some druids.
Love that. How about you, Hannah?
I managed 704 words. And I'm really trying to balance. So one of the perspectives is a police officer. It's real clear what my view of the police is, though, regardless of the fact that it's a police officer's perspective. So,
You can add a layer of commentary in the fantasy.
It's a theme, isn't it? Having just casual commentary in fantasy.
Yeah.
And I wrote 1,250 words. And then, because I hit my goal for the day, I let myself go on Twitter for the last couple minutes. Nice. And I don't know if anybody's seen, but in Tottenham Court Road, the wind has released these giant baubles and they're just rolling down the street and cars are dodging out of the way. And it's chaos.
They're huge as well. There's like the thing that I love the most is when one of them hit a lamppost, it like all the tin foil that was wrapped around it like exploded, and I was like, that's amazing. But I don't know what they're made out of because they're getting carried by the wind quite easily, so they can't be that heavy. But I imagine, I mean, I'd be quite terrified if something that big came rolling towards me.
I endeavor everyone to go and look at it because it is hilarious, but also when you see them in comparison to the cars, it is a bit
scary. Huge. Yeah,
they're huge.
They're so big. That is hilarious. Whoever made the installation is going to get in real trouble with their boss. Like, can you imagine if this was your fault? I released the giant baubles. I'm sorry.
I also just wanted to say I love that you've gotten into herbal teas more. I hope you're enjoying the experience.
Oh my god. I just saw the video. Oh my god.
They are huge.
That's fantastic. What the hell?
So yeah, got a bit distracted, but I'll write X like my bonus word count in the last sprint, I think.
That's fair.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say I had an image of this video in my head, but the actual thing is so much better than I was expecting. Oh my god, this is so entertaining. Okay, I need to stop. I'll watch that thing 3,000 times in a row.
I was just gonna say I'm glad that I'm at my word goal because I'm like, oh, I'm getting confident now. Like I feel good that I managed to do it. I'm going to hate it as soon as I read anything back. So I think my goal is to not read anything back until the end of November.
That is a solid goal.
And then I will decide it will never make the internet.
And then we shall force you to put it on the internet because we've heard so much about it that we want to read it. We have someone asking what everyone is currently writing, so I endeavor you to describe your work in progress in 10 words.
Does werewolf count as one word or two?
One.
That's one word.
Sweet. Okay. Werewolf murder mystery, thriller, bad vibes, good times.
That's so impressive.
Very well done. I feel like I can do mine pretty easily because I've just done it so many times, which is Afrofuturism, sci-fi, Frankenstein retelling.
Nice.
I love it. I'm obsessed.
Okay. Merthyr fanfic. Modern day gay love. And angst.
Love some angst. I feel like Zoe is that maths meme that you see happening with all the calculations.
That is exactly what's happening. First of all, I don't know how to fucking count. Second of all, 10 words is so small. Okay. It's leaving out so much, but adult fantasy. Oops, wrong chosen one. Sorry about your luck.
Nice.
Like
But
that.
like with Faye involved. So then that's all I'm gonna say because it's more than 10 words. And now I'm at like 30. Oh my god.
It's so easily done. I swear, like one of the first things that we did on my writing course, like at undergrad, was like trying to work out how to describe your book in 20 words. And it's impossible because like at first you're like, yeah, I'm going to write this book. And it's like you describe it in 20 words. And then you actually write the book and you're like, that is not an apt description. That book didn't happen. I've got a completely different book now. And I don't know how to explain it to you in 20 words. Like elevator pitches, they are not my friend.
I'm
Also-
hearing things that I should not be hearing. I will be right back.
Also, Tamar, I am serious about my project. All right, I'm just as serious about it as everyone else.
Mhm.
And I used to be more into writing than I am now. I did a creative writing degree, but I just fell out of love with writing. Like NaNoWriMo is the only time that I generally get down to writing. And this year, I thought I'm not going to try and write the high fantasy that I normally try and write, that I never ever finish because it's high fantasy. And my brain goes, absolutely not. You're not good enough for this. So I don't.
Your brain's
I
alive.
decided this year I'm going to have fun and write fan fiction. That does not mean I'm not just as serious. It's fine, Tamar. I'm an idiot. Leave it. I'm
Definitely serious. I mean, not to say that getting published is a marker of how serious, but I think the number of fanfics that get published, it's like,
Can you imagine?
You watch.
I
You
get
watch.
this, Merlin.
This is what will happen now, is because Lizzie is just churning out these words, right? Whilst I'm sat here, I'm like, I've worked on it for 100 years. And Lizzie's going to be like, yeah, so I just was like casually mentioning it to someone at work, and like they mentioned that they liked it. Da, da, da. Oh yeah, by the way, we're changing the names, but my book is being published. I will cry, Lizzie.
No, they wouldn't need to change the names because it would just be a Merlin retelling, like an actual like retelling of the myth.
even easier.
Great. So they can literally be like, cool, sign on the dotted line. Here's your advance. We're publishing your book. And I'm just like, I made a thing too. No one cares.
Living the dream, really, but also that would be really unfortunate.
Right.
It won't happen because it will never see the light of day, Hannah. Like, the only way it will see the light of day is if you sneak onto my computer and upload it secretly.
I have the capacity to do that. So
You really do.
You have your mission, should you choose to accept it.
I accept. By hell or high water, it will be on the internet. So the werewolf one's a bit weird because when I first wrote it, it was a YA, but I'm scaling it up to be far more adult. So it's got a lot more violence, a lot more sex, etc. in it. But the pacing is still very much YA. It still moves really quickly. So
So I love these writing
I
summaries.
love that. Need therapy, don't we all?
Always
that's
good
cool.
to see. Disability rep. Yes, please.
I need to get some more sensitivity readers for mine, because one of my main characters is deaf. So as it comes, once it's in that final stage, it will need sensitivity readers that can talk to me about stuff like that. Because I've had quite a few read before, but not since all the big changes I've put in. So I want to have more.
Yeah. I basically wrote my younger sister into my book, and I said, I hope you realize I'm giving her exactly your disability, but all of the technology advancements that will be very good, like aid and support that you can't actually have right now. And she was like, oh, that's lovely. Just let me sensitivity read like all the things I want, but cannot have.
I love that. Yes. Yeah, no, this for me is really important. So when I love talking about my masters, when I was on my masters, everyone was writing really highbrow literary books, you know, the kind of stuff that like Olivia will write, really beautiful writing. And then I was there like, I'm here for a good time, not a long time. And I remember everyone being like, so mine is about like the socio-political like intrigue, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, mine's about werewolves solving crime. Like it's a very different vibe. Yeah, I'm just here to entertain basically, and I feel like YA readability helps with that.
That's totally valid.
I was just gonna say, I love how you said the highbrow stuff that I would write, and then my last line is literally, "I hate people today." So
highbrow. It's so relatable. It's in there. We're all thinking it.
It's a universal experience. I hate people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
See, mine feels like it would be like the highbrow literary, all of the subcontext and everything, but really the whole vibe is the enemies to lovers pushed up against the wall, knife under the throat, am I gonna kiss you or kill you? And then we're gonna smash, but we're gonna hate each other, and it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, sign me up. Love that.
With the Fae sprinkled in, who are like, guys, stop killing us, and everyone's like, no, I don't want to.
We have a question.
That's a good question. That is a good question.
Where do you see yourself going, Lizzie? I think you've mentioned this.
Well, for a long time, I had the big dreams of publishing a book, and I got really close once when I was 13. And it was a high fantasy called Wings of Destiny. It's awful. It is literally awful. Like, I still have that manuscript. It should be burned. But it hit the right agent, and they were like, yeah, we like it. Do I know those agents' details now? No, because I'm awful, and I've definitely lost those. I can't even remember which publisher it was for. So that's how great I am at life. And then I just kind of decided that if it happens, it will happen. But I haven't been in the writing mood at all since I left uni. So probably like AO3, Archive of Their Own. If it gets anywhere, that's where it'll be. But like, we will see if I get back into the writing mood after November finishes.
That's fair.
How about you, published author, Hannah?
It's self-published though, isn't it? It's not the same. And I think that's the thing is I very much see myself as a career writer because I write for a living as it is. And although it's writing for business and writing business to business and ghost writing for people and stuff like that, it doesn't really feel like I've achieved everything I can achieve with it. I think once I've got an agent and I've got publishing deals, like traditional publishing deals, and I've got at least 10 books under my belt, then maybe I'll feel accomplished. But until then, the imposter syndrome will be real.
So Hannah has quite a few. No, is it two or three books out? I can never remember because I've definitely read two.
So I've got an anthology out. I've got a YA romance that's out. That's the first in a series of 5. And this will be my third, but my second official like novel, because the first one's a collection of short stories and really wasn't meant to be like, hey, I made a thing, but was more like, I had loads of clients asking me if they could read work that I'd done. And I was like, no, you can't read anything, because the way my ghostwriting contracts work, my clients retain all of the copyright. So if they say, no, no one's allowed to know that you wrote this, like, that's fine, I've been paid, but it belongs to them. So I made this anthology so I could be like, here's a collection of my writing in various forms, some in essay style, some in short form, some as like a longer story, just to kind of see like how flexible my writing is, and to just kind of give as a business card to people. Whereas Bridesmaid Survival Guide is the first novel I wrote. It is short because it's a romance. It's not very long. It doesn't need to be. I think it's like 150 pages. So really cute and short, but it's going to be the part 1 in a 5-part series of, here's a group of friends and they all individually fall in love with a whole bunch of other people. And it's like each story is like a different friend kind of thing. So very, very different to the super dark, super twisted thriller that I'm currently writing, that I've been writing for ages, that I originally was hoping to get traditionally published. But the agents that I kind of put it in front of either really liked the thriller element or really liked the fantasy element, and didn't really know what to do with the way it's cross written, I guess. So I got a lot of really nice feedback, which was lovely, because I think when you send out and query, I think the expectation is either someone will ask you for the full manuscript or you just won't hear from people. But I did get some responses that were really positive and kind of like, I liked this, it's just not right for me or the company or whatever. And what I have found is if you send it to one agent in an agency, they will know if someone else in their agency is going to take something like that on. So if they kind of say no, it's not going to be right for the agency as a whole either. So it's been rejected a lot, but it's also been read by a lot of people, and people seem to really like it. So I'm like, well, I might as well self-publish it. I've worked on it, so I might as well, kind of thing. Just being stubborn about it, really.
Yeah, you're finding your own audience for it instead of waiting for somebody else to be like, here's a wider audience. But you're like, I know it's good, I'm publishing it.
Yeah.
And screw anyone who says no.
Well, the thing is, like, once it's out, it's out. If people want to read it, great. If they don't, at least I can lay it to rest. Because the thing was, every time I was trying to work on a new project, like Bridesmaid Survival Guide and the rest of that series, I kept being like, but I have this thing here that I love. And I know a lot of writers will be like, oh, by the time it got published, I hated it, or I didn't love the process or whatever. Whereas I'm like, no, I love this. Like, I think it's really fun. I think it does, like, it has like a really cool story to it. I've really enjoyed writing it. So I want to share it, but no agent wants to take it on. So I'm like, well, yeah, I'll be selfish about it. I know how to self-publish. I know how to get books printed. The last 2 books I had done, I've had professionally printed. So I'm like, why not?
Fair. How about you, Zoe?
I am hoping to have this ready to query to agents by mid-year next year. Like, the goal right now is to finish this first draft this month. I'm trying to fast draft the entire 150K this month because I am insane, apparently, and or I hate myself. I don't know exactly which one it is. And then I'm hoping to go back to my other project that I had just finished and start edits on that, and have 2 projects ready to query to agents by mid-year next year, taking a break in February from everything so I can pop out another child and then get back into it after baby's born. But the goal is traditional publishing. I admire anybody who self-publishes, like having an anthology and another book. Like, that is amazing to me. I do not have the time or the energy to put out a book like the way it deserves to be done. So, like, authors who self-publish and make a career out of it, I'm like, you are amazing to me. The whole idea that, like, self-publishing is less than traditional publishing has always been weird to me, because the amount of work that goes into self-publishing. Like, traditional publishers, they do everything for you. You just got to write the book. And now they're expecting more, like, marketing from the author and you need to get on TikTok. You need to do this. You need to do this. It's like, well, what am I paying? Like, what are you taking this money for? Like, what? I don't understand. But self-publishing, like, if I had the time or the energy or even frick the money to do it properly, it would be like something I would consider maybe one day. But just the resources behind traditional publishing are like more along the lines of what I want to do, because I want to become a career author too. And I feel you about the whole imposter syndrome. Like, even telling people, they're like, oh yeah, I wrote a whole book. It's still just a first draft, but it's a lot of words on paper that I've printed, and it's like this thick when it's done. And people are like, cool, my cousin's sister's college roommate wrote a book too. You're not special. And it's like, okay, thank you, bye.
Yeah, it is. It's so bizarre. And I think the reason that self-publishing has such like a jarring response to it is because there is, like, you're right, there is so much hard work that goes into it, but so many people create foundations for their work where it's like they've written a whole book but it's 5,000 words, as opposed to a novel which is between 40 and 90. Like it could be anywhere between the two. And I remember talking to like someone about so he's like, well, how do I know that the self-published book is going to be any good? Because in theory, a traditional published one has gone through several different groups of people that have worked on it and analyzed it and critiqued it and made it as good as it could possibly be, where a self-published book hasn't. And I was like, but it's far more honest, because at the end of the day, that whole process is going to happen with everyone watching, as opposed to it's done before it's even mentioned. Because you think like the amount of books that are coming out now would have been finessed 5 years ago. Like there'll be things that are still being drafted and stuff near the time, but for the most part, it takes years to get stuff traditionally published. Whereas when you self-publish, I've got a friend, her name's Kate McDonald. She does loads of fairy tale retellings that she does through Amazon. And she gets, most of it is done via Amazon. So she just kind of uploads her manuscript and then she gets a cover made and that's it. The rest of it is just marketing that she does. But she has posted, I think, at least one, maybe 1.5 books a year since maybe in the last 5 years. She's got about 12 books out. And she's got a great following and people are expecting the next fairy tale. So she has to write it even faster than she wrote the last one because people are waiting for it. And it creates a kind of supply and demand, as opposed to, well, I've been working on this for a really long time and now I have to draw attention to it, kind of thing. But yeah, I think it's really interesting. I don't know if necessarily it's harder than traditionally publishing. I just think it's a case of the process doesn't really ever seem finished. Whereas when it's traditionally published, it does get to a point where you can't touch it anymore. Like people are working on the marketing, people are doing this, that, and the other to it. You've got to start styling stuff and you can't touch it anymore. Whereas when you self-publish, if you're like, oh, so the last batch had a spelling error on page 198, I can fix that. And the next batch, it won't have that. But I'm also going to change this entire paragraph because now that I'm in the document again, I can see that I can do this better. You know, it's that, it's like, it's never really finished. I think is the one thing. Yeah.
Like I read a self-published book because it was before I'd gotten into like the Twitter writing community and before I ever really like considered writing as a career. And I fell into the trap of self-published is less than, but I have read so many traditionally published books where it's like, where was the editor? What drugs was this editor doing? Can I have some? Because clearly this is a fun time. You don't have to do anything worthwhile in this job to get this book published. Like, and then some self-published ones, it's like, this is one of the best books I've ever read. But there was the one when I worked at the Chrysler factory here, my one leader that I had worked with, he's like, oh, my cousin wrote a book. She writes fantasy. I know you really like that, with like the same kind of thing you like. Do you want to read it? And I was like, yeah, sure. Why not? It was like right before I started my BookTube channel. So it's probably like mid 2017 that I read this, and I'm like, this is horrendous. It's like it read like it was a detailed outline, not like a full book. So I wrote a review because I'm like, I'm gonna be honest, I see a lot of potential here, but this is it. and she responded to my Goodreads review. I was like, oh my God, no, please. Like, I don't want to be one of these people. But she's like, I redid the whole book. You read the first edition. I redid it. Here, do you want me to send you a copy for free? I'm like, okay. She's like, yeah, I'll give it to my cousin, or I forget exactly how they were related. And she's like, I'll give it to him next time he comes to visit me, and then like we'll pass it on. I still have not read it, the redone version, because I'm like, I don't know how much better it's gonna be at this point. So it's like it can happen with traditional publishing, the same thing. Like I've read books that felt like outlines, where it's like there was so much money put into this book, into marketing this, and to getting it in front of people, and it doesn't feel done.
No.
So it's like, and at that point, you have a whole team behind you that you're like, well, who's at fault here? Like I remember when what the hell is it called? Zenith by Sasha Alsberg came out. The biggest thing there, people were like, it was okay, but the editing, where was it? Like it feels like it was still the self-published version that you would think they would have adjusted because they put so much money into marketing this and having it like actual editors behind it, who are supposed to, this is supposed to be their career. I don't understand, because you can have just anybody edit your book if you're self-publishing, which is like where I think some of the wariness comes from with other people, where it's like, who knows who edited this? If you did it by yourself, if you got Joe Blow down the street to do it, if you paid somebody, we don't really know. But that's what some of the traditionally published ones feel like. And it's like, I'm losing faith in the publishing industry if that's it. Like the self-pubbed authors should have such like a better reputation. Like they should not get the bad rap that they do as a whole, just because they're self-published. Like there's so much more work on the part of like one person happens in self-publishing. You get the whole team behind you in traditional publishing. You get your editor, your marketer, the marketing assistant, the cover designer, like every single assistant that you can think of working on this book for years. Like you said, like they're working on covers right now for 2025. And like those books are in production right now. But with self-publishing, like it's on you. You can hire a team if you want, if you have that kind of money lying around. But for the most part, like it's on you. And that's a lot of pressure for me personally.
I'll tell you what, though, it is so rewarding when it pays off, because my favorite thing about publishing Bridesmaid Survival Guide has been like family members and close friends of mine who've bought it knowing they don't like romance and then being like, it's actually pretty good. And I'm like, please stop sounding so surprised. Thank you. Like, it really kills me. I had 3 in the span of like 2 days. My mum's best friend called me and was like, I read it out of obligation, but it was really good. And I'm like, please stop sounding so surprised. I do this for a living. Like, it was just like, it's that. Even Lizzie was mad about it. She really enjoyed it and she hates romance.
Yeah, I don't do romance. Like, I don't tend to enjoy it. But like, this one was good because the love interest didn't want to make me murder him. Like, want to make me murder him the entire book. Like, he was just a precious being who needed to be protected at all costs. And there was just something about it, and it was just a fun book. And like, yes, the romance was like the main plot, but then it wasn't really, because there was all this other stuff, and it touched on some really important thing about like being plus size and like the wedding industry and stuff, and that was really like great to see for like rep. So it was like a lot of things that made it good. But I didn't give it 5 stars, though, did I, Hannah? I gave it 4.5 stars because I always see room for improvement.
What an awful
That's what you want a friend.
Right? Terrible friends. Terrible friend.
There was a specific reason, though, and the only reason that I will just say, the reason I didn't give it 5 stars is because I wanted more of the friendship group. And that was it. That was the only thing that I was like, that's what I wanted more of.
And that's valid. That's fair. I wasn't like, it was really funny because I saw the review before I got to see Lizzie again. So I already knew she'd given it 4 stars. And I was like, to be honest, I'm just amazed it wasn't less than that. Because I was like, fair enough. Like 4 stars to me is like, I really enjoyed this, but there's like a couple of things. Because that's where I sit on a 4 stars. If it didn't make me cry, and if it's not quite like there's something I need more of or less of, it's a 4 stars. So I was like, that's not bad for like a first book. That is not bad. So
I will say with this one here, because I also want to traditionally publish and I work for a publishing company, that I think there is no best publishing company, because different publishing companies will publish different genres and will specialize in different things. So it really depends on what you're writing and who you hope your audience to be. But I think we'll answer this one question that I saw somewhere, which was like, did you go to uni for creative writing? And I know I did.
I did too.
I was in English and German and psychology, but did not actually do creative writing.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I did, but at the same time, I'm glad I didn't.
And Lizzie, I think you mentioned you did as well.
I did English literature as a major, and then creative writing as a minor, because I couldn't do just creative writing as an undergrad. And I wanted to do a creative writing master's, but I couldn't afford to, and my parents said no. I wasn't gonna just keep on going to uni, and I'd have to get a job. Was their exact words. So I still want to do a master's, but again, I still can't afford it.
You can get student finance. That's how I did it.
I know, but then I'd actually have to go to a uni, and
Yeah.
I don't think I want to be around 18-year-olds again.
Oh, it won't be 18-year-olds. If it's anything like my master's, I was the youngest there. Everyone else was in their 60s, taking a gap year from their retirement and just wanted to get a book written. Yeah.
But like, yeah,
Yeah.
the undergrad was good though. I had a lot of fun, and yeah, it stopped me writing ever since. So it did great.
Good results. But yes, I think we're going to sprint for 30 more minutes. So it's going to be our last sprint to just finish off, and then we'll report back and summarize. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Let's do it. It's the end of the last sprint. How did everybody's writing go for the last one?
I'm just going to do the maths because I have no idea how much in the last one, but I'm just going to work out what I've written today and go from there.
It's a good shout. I think I wrote just over 1,000, but should do the maths and calculate everything that I wrote. It's complicated when you don't start from like 0 words.
It must have been about 800, 900 words because I have written in total 2,150 words today, which is over my goal by about 200 words. So,
Nice.
day 1, success.
Where's my calculator? I wrote this down. 308 because I stopped writing for a while. I got distracted. And then I was like, whatever, I'm going to stay distracted.
Happens to the best of us.
I mean, I've already hit the nano goal. I'm at 3,447 for the day. And I'm trying to hit 5,000 by the end of the day. I've got 5.5 hours left. So
You can do that.
I think I can do it.
How about you, Lizzie?
I wrote another 1,096 words. So I'm really pleased with myself considering I haven't written anything since last November. I'm at 3,447 words, which I'm really proud of myself for, and I need to finish this flashback scene because the flashback scene is longer than I expected it to be. To be honest, I'm going through the whole motions of like how he chose the cave and stuff. I don't know why I've decided that this is the direction it's going in, but it's gonna happen. So, yeah, I'm probably gonna be writing for another about half an hour after these sprints end. So,
Did you say you've written 3,447?
yeah.
That's exactly the same number that I've written today. Like, what are the chances? What a random number.
It's fate. But if I can get to 5,000, which I could do, the way this scene is going, I'd be very happy to, because that's a great start.
Yeah, but you also have to
Believe
go
in
to
you.
sleep because you've got work in the morning. So
Yeah, but I'm going to go and sit in my bed and do it.
then you're never going to sleep. That's
Yeah, I
not
will.
happening.
I will. But I need to finish this scene, otherwise I will forget, and then it will be awful.
Responsible versus creative genius coming in.
The thing is, though, Lizzie knows for a fact that there's been like times when she's gone to bed and I've been like sat downstairs writing, and then she's come downstairs because I'm still like an absolute gremlin over my laptop, and she's been like, "Are you gonna go to sleep soon?" Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna do. And actually, to be fair, on Friday of last week, Lizzie came downstairs because I'd had my business meeting first thing, and then she came back downstairs. It was probably like around lunchtime, and I was still sat here having been writing basically from the end of that meeting until lunchtime in my pajamas with my blanket, like a proper gremlin, just like, oh yeah, I need to actually do adult things today as well. Like, yeah, it's not good. Also, I caught sight of my concentration face for a sec because at one point I was like looking for tabs and I was like, I look so miserable when I'm writing. Like, I have such an angry writing face. So sorry to everybody.
That's okay. We all do it. I put my laptop like away from me so that, well, I mean, I'm not working. I'm working on my work laptop, which is why I can do that. So I was like, I'm just a little shadow now. You can't see what I look like when I'm writing, hopefully. But I did finish with 3,158 words, which is over my goal by 1,000, which is good because I feel like there's going to be some days in this month where I'm not going to write anything.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's fair.
that sounds very cozy.
I love a laptop tray.
I need to get one. I keep telling Kurt every week, I'm like, I need to go get one of these. And he's like, okay, go do it. And then immediately after telling him, I forget. And every time I sit down to write, I'm like, what the hell am I doing with my life? I need one of these.
Mm.
It's a
I
never-ending
have got a
cycle.
couple. They've got like the beans underneath them, so they like sit and like aren't gonna. Oh, love it. Love my little laptop tray.
That's what I want. The one from Indigo has them, our bookstore here. Like so many cute patterns and everything, and I'm like, every time I see it, I'm like, oh, I'll get it next time. I don't want to pay for that right now.
I have fully stolen one of Hannah's, to be fair.
Yeah.
Just taken one because you had like 3, and I was like, well, I'm gonna nick one because
Yeah.
It's
Because I
a whole
bought 2 to
meeting
match.
for friends
She's
with
got my one.
benefits.
it's what living in the same house does. It's just like, oh no, Hannah's got that. Oh no, Lizzie's got that. That's where it is.
Just commandeer it.
Can't wait to see it. But I think that's it. Got work tomorrow, so I'm going to go to sleep. But thank you all for joining me for these writing sprints. I see yawning happening now.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
6:30. I don't know why the hell I'm yawning so much.
Just join our time zone. Go to sleep as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm
But
gonna do it.
yes,
Get these kids asleep.
make sure you check out all of these wonderful people's channels or Twitters if we're more active on Twitter than on YouTube. No comment. And yeah, have a good night all.
Bye.